Yoo-hoo, welcome back. Today we are pitting two traditional Christmas treats against one another in the ultimate baking battle. It's the Canadian Butter Tart and British Mince Pie taste test.
Honestly, this is it. This is what it's like when I bake.
Christmas is a time filled with some of my favorite things, like gifts for 25 days. My advent calendar this year is from Ritual. It is filled with, well, plenty of things that smell really good. What is today? Today's the 8th. Okay, half the challenge is just finding the number. And today's item is Nourishing Conditioner. Let's give it a... Wow. Christmas trees. Also another one of my favorite things. Better one, better two. Better one, better two. But most of all, I love the treats that come in the masses at this time of year. If you haven't realized this yet, hi, I'm Michelle, and I love food. The butter tart is widely consumed by baking lovers in Canada. It's a short crust tart filled with this caramelly mixture of raisins, brown sugar, butter, and they're delicious. I'm gonna show you how to make them, and then we're gonna taste them. So butter tarts, are they Canadian? Canadians will tell you that they are Canadian. Google will tell you that they might be Canadian. I'm inclined to think that they're pretty Canadian at Christmas. I am not a baker. This is a vlog, so bear with me as I muddle my way through my kitchen. For this particular batch of butter tarts, we are using my grandmother's recipe, and I particularly like the variation where you add pecans. So instead of a full cup of sultana raisins, we're gonna go half a cup of raisins and a half cup of roughly chopped pecans, 1 cup of brown sugar lightly packed, 2 tablespoons of butter, half a teaspoon of vanilla, and we're gonna do some stuff to that, and then we're gonna toss it in the pan. Oh, and I forgot the egg. Step number 1, we need to preheat the oven. The recipe calls for 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That would be about 190 degrees Celsius, but because we only have the fan option on this oven, we're gonna bump that down to 180 degrees and hope for the best. Because if you burn them, they are no longer butter tarts, they are hockey pucks. In Canada, because people make butter tarts a lot, you go to the grocery store and you buy the pre-made mini tart shells. They're uncooked, they're in a foil tin, and you just slop your ingredients in there and toss them in the oven. It takes no time at all. I went to every store here in Canary Wharf, couldn't find them. So I got pre-rolled pastry dough. We're gonna flatten it out, cut it, hopefully with something that's around about the right size.
Let's see what we have here. You know what? Forget the flour. I'm just gonna keep it on the parchment paper. Okie dokes. Give it a little bit of help here. Too small. Definitely too big. I think still too big. I think I'm just gonna go with this, and then if it's too big, we can cut it smaller, you know? All right, so we're gonna take this guy, try and get him in the corner without breaking him. We'll give that a try. See how it goes. Now to just do 11 more. I don't know how this happened. Somehow he's decided to be bigger than everybody else. Just fold your little corner in there. Okay, great. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know what? I think it's just me. I think it's just the way I was putting them in here. So we can count. We have 12 ready to go. It's always a good place to start. Leftover dough, we're gonna put it in the fridge because I might be able to use this for our next treat. And here lies the problem with a very small fridge. It's my lunch. That doesn't need to be in here. Great. Okay. Just tidy up my unnecessary mess. We have half a cup of our sultana raisins. We're just gonna kind of clean them. Just get them hot. Some hot raisins, you know? Delicious. We're just gonna soak them. The recipe says to like clean them in hot water, but from what I remember, I think you soak them for like I don't know, like maybe a minute just to kind of soften them up. Our chopped pecans are not going in the water. They're gonna wait until the raisins are ready, along with our cup of brown sugar. We need 2 tablespoons of butter. Conversion. Tablespoons and grams don't like nicely convert to one another. So it's like 28 grams, I think. We're gonna kind of just fake it, maybe just over 50. All right, these are looking weird. So we're gonna strain these funny looking raisins. I would do the butter first. It does feel like a lot. Now I'm second guessing everything. How much is a tablespoon? How much is a tablespoon? 2-ish tablespoons, great. It's not, you know, it's not exact science. Baking with Michelle, I don't care. This spatula I brought from Canada. I just really love it. You know, to each their own. Eric was really excited about his PS4 because he couldn't buy a PS5 when we got here. And I was really excited about my blue spatula. We need to beat an egg. And eggs here, they live in the cupboard. Fun fact for you. Starting to feel pressured here. Starting to panic a little bit. Okay, wonderful. We're gonna dump that in there. We're also gonna add our pecans. And then at the very last minute, we add our half a teaspoon. It's never enough vanilla. I never really follow the rules on the vanilla. A little bit more. It might be a little bit much. Okay, great. You get this sort of caramelly, buttery mixture and you stick it in the tarts and it's gonna be delicious. I usually underserve the tart and then come back to it rather than overdoing it. It's gonna be a bit of a mess. That's all right. It's okay if they overflow a little bit. The problem though is that it can get underneath like the tart shell and then it burns like really easily. So it just kind of ruins the taste. So if you can help it, try and keep it in the shell. I really appreciate when things look nice to eat, you know? So I go through and I find whole or like mostly whole pecans and I stick one on top of every butter tart because I just think it looks nice. So why the heck not? That's it. That's what they look like when you're done. We're gonna stick these in the oven for 15 minutes and we're gonna watch them like a hawk. Have fun. Hey Google, set a timer for 15 minutes.
Sure, 15 minutes. Starting now.
Yay! Yes! On first glance, I'm gonna say we nailed it. I can see that some of them, the tops look like they might be like almost overdone, and I think that's just the heat of the oven. So next time I do these, I'm gonna take them out a little early or maybe drop the temperature down a tad. We did have some spillage, which I warned you about, but on 3, so that's pretty great, I think. I think these look amazing. They smell so good. God, I love butter tarts. Yes. I cannot wait to try one. As I mentioned, the butter tarts competition today is the British Mince Pie. According to my research, a long time ago, these little pies possibly were made with mincemeat. Mince now refers to a mixture of dried fruit, sugar, sometimes nuts. I used walnuts for this recipe, a whole ton of delicious spices, and some kind of alcohol spirit. I used brandy, but I also saw recipes that make it with sherry and port. I prepped a batch of mince last night and left it in the fridge to kind of do its thing. The recipe did say to bake it, but then I realized how long that would take.
2.5 hours.
So instead, I cooked it on the stove. I then had a bit of a row with the pastry dough, partly my fault. Couldn't find a rolling pin. Don't think I have one of those. And attempted to fill each pie crust without making a complete mess and trying to get the tops to fit on properly. I learned my lesson with the butter tart, so I've turned the oven down a little bit. So these guys are gonna go in for 15 to 20 minutes until golden brown. Good luck. And I then managed to pull them out of the oven on time, so they didn't end up looking like they were made by Edward Scissorhands. Making my own mince pies could be seen as valiant or like I'm cheating, because obviously I'm not British, but you know who is? M&S. Butter tart, Michelle's mince pie, M&S's mince pie. I'm gonna start with the M&S mince pie. I did warm these up in the oven, but we've got this like nice sort of jammy middle. Wow, those are pretty delicious. Really light, flaky, crunchy, buttery pie crust. The orange notes are very strong. It's very sweet. It doesn't smack you in the face with spices, which I would expect given like the number of different spices that are used in mince pies. So the balance is actually quite nice. I was a little worried that they were too blonde in like the bottom of the shell, but compared to the M&S pie, I think I did pretty well. My crust is thicker, but I think that's probably more to do with my rolling technique. It definitely held its shape. It's harder to actually see the ingredients in the M&S pie, and in terms of color, theirs is a little darker than mine. It makes me think that maybe the mince was cooked longer. Okay, similar but different. Not as strong on the orange flavor. The walnuts are a nice touch because you get a little bit of crunchy texture. And I added cranberries to mine, which makes it very tart. I think I can say that I made a mince pie. If I had to pick one that I like better, I actually might prefer the M&S. So maybe I have some work to do. And now for the butter tart. Very similar texture. The difference with a butter tart is you don't have all of those spices. So it's very rich and sweet and caramelly. The pecans also add like a depth of flavor that the mince pie doesn't have. I don't really know that you can pick a favorite. I'm biased. If you're looking for a treat that has those warm flavors, the spices, I would go for the mince pie. If you're looking for a treat though that's indulgent and sweet and honestly a little bit sinful, I would go for the butter tart. I had never had a mince pie until today, and I really like them, and I want to make them again. I'd really like to try and perfect the recipe. I might need some help. Feel free to give me some comments and some feedback. Welcome. You know, Christmas baking really doesn't feel the same this year without my family. So thank you for joining me today. What are your favorite Christmas treats? Please share in the comments below and maybe we can try each other's. If you want to give either of these Christmas treats a try, go for it. I have linked the recipes in the description below. And before I let you go, I wanted to give a shout out to a friend of mine who I connected with on their podcast, The Johnny Rogers Show. Feel free to go check that out. We talk about moving, about plans that work, that don't work out, this YouTube channel, and more importantly, we had a really good time. Happy baking, friends. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. I'm wondering, is there a way that we could like make a hybrid tart, bring them together in one amazing Christmas tart? It might be possible. Yo, that could be a thing.